We are live.
We are live.
What's up,
Hey,
everybody?
fam. Welcome to Health Matters. I'm your host, Dr. Felicia Bridges, with my co host.
Mr. Cat Fitness himself. What's
He-
going on, everybody?
Hey, Health Matters is where we explore the mind body soul continuum. And today we're going to talk about a topic that hits my people of color.
Hold on, wait. My.
Okay, all
It's no
right,
I in
our
T.
people. I
Our
forget,
people.
we don't know
Yeah.
about him, but
Uh
our
oh.
people. No, no,
Uh
our people.
oh.
No, he's a big advocate for our people,
There you
African
go.
Americans. And so today we're going to talk about the 7 deadly
Diseases.
diseases that affects African American. There are seven top seven that hits us, and there's various reasons.
And let's talk about them because we don't talk about this in our community that
No,
much. I
we
mean,
don't. We really don't.
it's so much sickness in our community, and we just brush it off with, oh, that's how we grew up, and that's part of our genes, and this and that.
Right,
When a lot of it has to come with poor nutrition and not
right.
working out. So I'm kind of curious to see what the top seven
Right.
is,
Well, let's
and
let's talk about that. So you know, there's seven, but we have to keep in mind that these diseases are taking us out, but there's also I have to say systemic reasons why these diseases are affecting us the most. But we'll go through them. So let's start out with what number seven.
number seven. Let's do the countdown. Number seven. What's what do they say?
So number seven is cancer.
Cancer. Any particular kind of cancer they're talking about?
No, there's not. They're not saying a particular kind. They're just saying that the cancer treatment in itself is detrimental to our mortality. So they're saying at a rate of 40% of African Americans have a higher cancer rate than our Caucasian counterpart.
But I think a lot of things play into that as well because the way our communities are set up, we have more things that more foods with carcinogens in them in our community.
Uh huh.
When we're stressed, we have liquor stores on every single corner, so people are
That's
picking up
right.
alcohol and
Right.
cigarettes and
That's
all these
right.
cancer,
You could
you
still
know.
buy eight old English 800. Right.
So that I mean that doesn't really surprise me saying that our Caucasian counterparts don't aren't as affected as we are just for the simple fact they don't have the same access to the same things that we do in
That's
our
very true.
neighborhoods.
Yeah, just example, there's a couple of communities that I know of just off the top of my head, and I'm talking about West Oakland, and I'm also talking about
We got to talk about all of them.
Hunters Bay Viewpoint. I'm
Oakland,
just saying a couple.
yeah, Richmond, you can't,
Richmond, right?
Vallejo, all
Right? Right. We're all centered around naval bases and shipyards that are home to some of the highest toxic super sites
yeah.
in the country. And there's a real reason why, that African American folks are sick from cancer because groundwater is contaminated, their environment is contaminated.
And I mean, the nutrition that's been passed down from generation to generation has a lot to do with it as well. These young ladies are getting overly developed, eating these products that are filled with hormones and all
Right,
different kind of things.
right,
So now developing breasts at a younger age, or just
right.
developing, just
That's true.
period.
That's true. I have a story to share about that. So I'm a mom,
Are
and
you? You look you're so youthful and young.
anyway, my daughter, she to me she was always bigger than me. She grew at an
You mean more
incredibly,
developed kind of?
yeah,
Okay.
more developed and just larger in size than I was.
Okay.
Even as an adult, I'm an adult and my daughter's larger than me. And my daughter wasn't overweight. She was just bigger.
That could be genes, though. I
It,
mean,
it, it
it could
could
come
very
from her
well
dad's side
it
or
could very
whatever.
well be genes, but I solely believe it's because she drank milk and she ate chicken. And
Mm,
I think that the growth hormones that were put in the chicken and growth hormones or whatever the hormones and antibiotics and whatever else that they have in milk kind of boosted her growth because she was always off the chart. She was in the 99 percentile across the board.
mm.
Head growth, body growth, everything. She was always thicker, bigger than I am. And now that she's a vegan, because
Yeah.
she became a vegan at the same time that I did,
Oh, that's beautiful.
she's much slimmer
Yeah.
and she looks different,
Yeah.
and she doesn't have that sort of adolescent, well, I don't want to say adolescent puffiness, but this puffiness she's had since she was an adolescent, that went away. So I think it had something to do with her meat consumption. I really do.
Okay.
I think that
But
that
now, but
had
the good
something to
thing
do with
is,
it.
she has a son or a daughter.
She
Yeah.
has a son.
She has a son. Now he's not going to be experiencing those same things, because now she has a different outlook on,
Very true.
her nutrition and what
Very
she hands
true.
down to your grandson.
That's very true because she's. See, you done told the world that I'm a.
Ugh.
But
Shh.
anyway.
Hey, this is just between you guys. Nobody else but our viewers right now at this particular.
I didn't
I just
mean.
let the cat out the bag.
I
No
didn't
pun
mean.
intended. Being Cat Fitness.
Anyway, no, he's growing up to be a meat eater. I mean, no. Well, no, he's almost a vegan, not quite.
So a
He
vegetarian.
he mostly eats a vegetarian diet. She'll allow him on occasion to have some chicken nuggets. Although even
Is that are those
nuggets have
really
a problem.
chicken? Yeah. Is there chicken in chicken nuggets? That's the
well,
real
well,
question.
she doesn't go to McDonald's, so
Uh,
if she's giving him chicken nuggets, there'll be some from some gourmet place like Whole Food chicken nuggets.
even
I know. I
Whole Foods. I
mean,
mean, I like Whole Foods, but who knows?
yeah, they still have
Who knows what
injected
goes?
chicken and so forth
Who
there,
knows
but
what's
on
going on in the
occasion
back room?
he'll eat. But he's
Yeah.
a really skinny young man,
Oh, okay.
little guy. He's a
Little guy, little man,
little man,
little
little
mini me.
skinny, yeah.
Okay.
So, and he doesn't do dairy. He does cheese, but he doesn't drink milk. He drinks almond milk.
Well, I
So
mean, once he wings off mom's breast, is he really supposed to be drinking that?
no, but see, we didn't know anything
Yeah, we
about
didn't know
those
better.
things back in the day, and it's still a hard practice for us to let go. It's a hard for us to change what we did.
I mean, I think it's kind of ingrained in our
for
DNA.
you think so?
Yeah, I mean, after you do something for so long, it's like
Just something you just
ingrained
do,
in,
huh?
yeah, it's so ingrained in people's mentality, and it's all you know. You
Mm.
know, it's one of those things where I mean, how many generations now have been doing it since we've been enslaved in America? You know what I'm saying? To
Right,
survive.
right. You're right about that. How many generations?
You know.
Yeah, because when you think about it, because unfortunately, economics too has a lot to do with our diet choices.
Yeah.
And back in slavery days, we had no choice.
Hmm.
We ate the garbage that was left over. So all the entrails, all the stuff, master didn't want to eat. Then we start jazzing it up with seasoning and salt and all of that,
Making
and
it edible.
right, man, so we could get that stuff down.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he started looking at our plates, and
Mm.
those things now have become a
Mm.
delicacy. But it's hard to get rid of stuff that have been a part of your diet for generations, and are just considered staples. And I'm talking about the ham hocks, bacon, ham. Well, that's stepping it up a notch, but and chitlins
Ah,
and pig's
ugh,
feet.
chillings.
Just saying that
But
is making my stomach hurt.
but just to throw this out here, I remember, my pops, well, my family, just we getting government assistance, like getting government cheese at one point when I was a kid, and getting the powdered milk, You know what I'm saying? Like
I
those kind of things.
loved powdered milk though.
You love the
I
powdered
loved
milk?
the way it tasted. I loved the flavor it had.
Okay, man, I,
It tasted good.
I don't know about that one,
But
y'all.
I don't necessarily think it was good for you.
It's
It was
definitely
probably
it's powdered.
fortified. It was fortified.
It was
I
powdered
know, but
milk.
it was powdered milk, and you're putting it in water.
Yeah.
Some of that has to be good.
So then you're saying like Kool-Aid's good because it's water and sugar.
No, that's different. But I'm almost certain they put sugar in the powdered milk.
Exactly.
So
Okay, let's move on to number six. What's number six? So cancer was number seven.
cancer was number 7. Number 6 is high blood pressure.
Man, high
and
blood
and it's
pressure.
and they're saying that for African Americans it develops earlier in life, so we're getting blood pressure at an earlier age, so it's kicking in at the age of 20 for a
I'm
lot of African
I'm
Americans.
surprised they didn't say younger than that. To be honest with you, just
Wow.
for the simple fact, I mean, a lot of people in you know our community, urban community, whatever, however you want to identify it with, you got to understand they're working these jobs that they don't want to be working at. They're highly stressed. Then they're coming home. Some people are barely making ends meet, and then those stresses are going on to their kids.
Right,
You
very
know,
true.
they're pushing all that energy. Is like
Yeah, onto the kids. Yeah,
onto the
short
kids.
tempers.
Exactly.
Not cooking because you're so stressed you don't have time, you don't feel you have time to cook, so
Uh,
you're eating out a lot, and it's high salt, sugar, high fat
uh-huh.
foods,
You
all of those things
if
that
you got
contribute to high blood
if
pressure.
you guys take a look at how much sodium is in all these processed foods, it's crazy. It's like you're eating a whole thing of salt. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's not surprising that more people don't have higher blood pressure at like 10, 12 years old because they're eating couple noodles, they're eating the chips, all full of salt. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? That this
Mhm.
stuff is crazy.
Right. It
So
is.
how do you what are some of your practices to keep your blood pressure low?
Well, the thing is I suffer from the exact opposite, and it's just as bad. I suffer from low blood pressure.
Mm.
So even though I don't eat a lot of high fat foods, I have blood pressure issues, and it's low. And I'm not quite sure why it's so low, but it is, and it creates havoc when I raise my hands above my head. If
You get lightheaded?
I get lightheaded and I'm ready to hit the ground.
Mm.
But
How long has that been an issue with you?
it's been an issue probably since I've been an adult. I've always had that issue. So I guess since my 20s.
Okay, and I mean, when you got checked out for it, was it any particular thing that they said? Was it any kind of genetics that led to this, or was it something that you were lacking in your diet at the time?
Now that's funny, and I know that some of this is a misnomer, but in my family, it's the exact opposite. There's issues with high blood pressure, but I think it's largely to do with the diet that we ate. We like fried chicken and
Uh-huh.
fried fish, so we eat a lot of high fat, high fried foods,
Hmm.
a lot of
I mean,
saturated fats.
I think that's 90% of our community. That's what we grew up on. Is all the fats
And
and the
let me
fried
tell
foods.
and let me tell you about that fried food. My grandmother's fried chicken, she would season it very good with Lowry seasoned salt, which is high in sodium, and then on top of that, she's frying it in Crisco,
Uh-huh.
not canola or vegetable oil, and she's putting butter in the oil.
Well, you got to think about it.
But it's so tasty. It
You,
was anyway.
you got to think about it. As a kid, I remember waking up. We had fried eggs for breakfast, fried bacon or fried sausage.
Mm-hmm.
We were having toast with a whole bunch of butter on
Wait
it.
a minute. Did you cook the egg in the bacon fat? Because that's
Yeah,
what my grandmother did.
yeah, of course.
Of course.
You know, and what was that leading to? You know what I'm saying?
High blood pressure.
High blood pressure, and I
High
mean, people,
cholesterol. All
high
of that.
cholesterol,
Mm-hmm.
and people are not putting two and two together. So high blood pressure. Okay, we have that on the list.
So that's heart disease. But
Yeah.
anyway, yes. So
I,
we really have to kind of think about how our diet choices are affecting things like high blood pressure and why. So we can't say, oh, it's just in a family. There are habits that our families picked up that we've continued on, and that's why we have high instances of high blood pressure among African Americans.
and it has to stop with us.
Oh, absolutely, it does.
We have to get a point where we have to be like, man, we've seen this going on for so long, and that's where I got in my journey. Is like I saw it just going on, and I was like,
Number three,
number three,
it says
we should be on five.
we are,
You're
I'm
skipping some
counting
numbers.
backwards. I'm counting awkward. I'm all in the wrong direction. Anyway, this particular disease hits close to home. It's not really disease, it's an occurrence to me, but it's strokes. My
Wow.
father is just suffered a stroke this past April, and the devastation that it has laid upon his body is incredible. My father's whole left side is paralyzed, and he's left-handed, so he was
Wow.
left dominant. So the whole part that he uses to control everything, writing, whatever, his dominant side is now paralyzed. He can't do anything. He hasn't lifted his arm since April 13th. And yeah, so stroke. And one of the things they believe, now he suffers from high blood pressure as
Okay.
well. So stroke is pretty serious, and there's two kinds I found. There's two kinds. One that stroke you can get when your brain bleeds,
Mm-hmm.
and another one is when you have blood clots in your body, and one of those blood clots travels to your
Shifts to
brain
your brain.
and shuts off like the oxygen and the blood flow in that
Uh-huh.
particular area, and that causes the stroke.
And then sometimes can't you die instantly from that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you can die slowly. Like my father is in this slow sort of spiral
Mm-hmm.
because he's he's so debilitated he can't even swallow, and sometimes that his inability to swallow has caused asphyxiation, which causes pneumonia. So that asphyxiation is when liquids get into your lungs and cause inflammation, and inflammation causes pus and fluids to build up in your lungs, and you can't breathe. So because he can't swallow, he can't remove the saliva from his mouth, and what's happening, it's going into his lungs, and he's had pneumonia now 3 times.
So how exactly are the doctors treating it?
Well, they're treating him like anybody else with pneumonia with antibiotics, and that's pretty much it. And my father can't eat, so he
So
has
a
to
lot of
be
fluids they're
he
putting
gets a
into him.
lot of he gets tube fed and fed fluids through the tube.
Mm. And are they doing anything else for like the stroke aspect of it?
The thing is that the only treatment for the prevention of stroke, particularly from blood clots, is blood thinners, and that's what I'm on as well. And uh, he wasn't taking his, and as a result, clots formed because he had arthritis in his knees,
Mm-hmm.
and he wasn't taking his blood thinners, which would have reduced the amount of inflammation that that causes blood clots. So
And I think that's at least I mean, he knew that he needed to take blood thinners, but I think that's another great topic that we need to talk about in our community. It's not getting checked, getting checked up every once in a while. Every
right,
once in a while, you might
yeah,
need a checkup. Sometimes something's going wrong with your body, and your body gives you that red flag. Just like you said, if your hands are over your head for too long, you start getting lightheaded, getting dizzy. But a lot of us wouldn't look into it. We'd just be like, oh, well, the body's breaking down.
right,
And
right. And that's what Dad did. He's like, I'm just getting slower. So he didn't take heed to some of those messages that his body was sending him. So, folks, this is one thing I would like to share with you. When you have clots forming in your body, your body actually will tell you before it gets too severe, because you can actually die from a clot moving around, because a clot can break off in your body and move to your heart, and your heart stops. it could break off and move to your lungs, and you can't breathe, and it could break off and give you a stroke. So one of the symptoms that I've experienced, and I know my father has, is when he had a clot floating around in his body. He's tired, lethargic, and he doesn't have the normal energy that he would normally have. My father was very energetic, spry, moved very well,
Mm-hmm.
but with that clot, all of a sudden he was winded really easily, exhausted extremely easily. There were times when I had active clots in my body and I couldn't even walk across the room.
Wow.
That's a signal. You gotta go to the doctor, and when you're prescribed blood thinners, you have to take them. It's so important. It's so important. So
Okay.
stroke is taking our community out. Just saying.
Okay, so we're on what, number 5?
Number 5. No, that's number. Yeah, No, now we're at number 4. Yeah, number 4.
You sure?
I'm sure.
Because we did the cancer. We talked about high blood
Blood
pressure.
pressure. We
We
did
talked.
the stroke.
We just talked about
Now
stroke.
we're number 4.
Now
Tobacco.
tobacco. We kind of brushed over tobacco already. I mean, it's not surprisingly that tobacco is on the top 7.
Yeah, it's not. Now,
Yeah.
folks, a lot of folks will say, well, I'm not smoking. Yes, you are. If you
Mm.
smoke marijuana, and using Swissers,
Say that one more time.
if you smoke marijuana and you're using Swisser, you're smoking
Tobacco,
tobacco.
the tobacco leaves and everything like that. But then what happens a lot of times, like, people don't even think because they're smoking cigarettes, like you said, they don't put two and two together. They're just like, oh well, I gotta be smoking Newports or Marlboros to get cancer. But even I believe even what's the vape pens?
Right.
The vape
Yeah.
pens
Thank you.
now.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
The vape pens are
they try
just
to make
as
it the new cool way to
right,
smoke.
and they have them flavored now.
Yeah,
So even
or
even
hookah. Hookah
even
is huge.
flavor hookah too. Hookah's
Hookah's
tobacco. It's
hookah's
tobacco. It's
huge.
even worse. You're smoking tobacco, charcoalized tobacco.
Yeah,
So it's charcoal, which is bad for you, giving you black lung, and then tobacco.
but but they're making it. What the cold
And
part
the
about it is
flavor, cherry, grape,
not only the flavors, but
mint.
last year I think it was the first time I went into like a hookah lounge, right? And the hookah
It
lounge, they
was
got the
filled with smoke,
it was
wasn't it?
filled with smoke, but the way they have it is like it's the new social thing
It
to do.
is, and you can kind of
You
sit
know,
with your friends, and y'all
you guys order it, yeah,
smoking on it, and yeah.
it,
My first hookah lounge was in England.
yeah.
Guess who took me?
Who took it?
My daughter.
Like, what?
In England, you can partake in a lot of things when you're underage.
Okay, and so she
So
took you to the hookah
she
lounge.
took me to the hookah.
Man, and as I was in there, I was like, this cannot be good for people. You know what I'm saying? You're engulfed in the smoke in the room. You're breathing it in as you're
I
doing it.
know.
But it's the new social environment where people it's a lot more affordable because normally, like, say if people go out, what do they want to do? They want to buy drinks,
Right.
right? I think it was like $20 for like a round of hookah, and
Oh,
you got 3 4 buddies smoking and just hanging out. It was like it's all those things that they
right.
kind of introduce into our communities so we can kill ourselves.
Right, that's true. It's just another tool, and its appearance is social, relaxing,
Uh-huh.
cool. So we like, oh, this is something new.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, even myself, and this has been known for years, but I used to have a habit.
What kind of habit?
Mine was smoking cigars. I love
Felicia, why are you gonna
cigars.
sit here and lie to our
I
viewers? You smoke
love
cigars.
cigars.
What kind of
Yes.
cigar did you smoke?
I smoke.
I
I,
used
s-
to I used to smoke Black and Milds a long time ago
That
for
w-
like a
mine. Oh,
couple
I was
months.
a snob. I loved the Cuban
You
cigars.
got Cuban cigars.
Yes, I did. Well, I would go to
Okay.
France, and you can get Cuban cigars
And
in
not all of us
France.
get to travel like you.
I'm just
I was
saying.
going to the liquor store down the street and
Well,
getting me
no, see,
a
yeah,
vanilla
see,
Black and Mild. That's what I used to
see.
get.
I know. Well, me, I love the
But those
Cuban.
days are in my past.
Yes, and
But
my
we
my cigar was um, number 5.
it was
God,
number
I
five.
can't think of the brand, and it's funny, but the brand is escaping me right now. But anyway, I used to smoke cigars,
Yeah.
and I thought it was okay because in my mind, I wasn't inhaling,
Mm,
but it was still
yeah,
taking it in my body.
yeah.
So it
Get throat cancer and all
all
types of
kinds
stuff.
of stuff.
Yeah. So I know a lot of times I saw it in the community, right? That's what made me want to try. You know, you see older adults, sitting there smoking their cigars, smoking their cigarettes, and you're like, that looks that looks kind of cool. Let me try it. Nowadays, like I said, it's kind of went to the vape. You see everybody walking down the street and vaping
Yeah,
away. It's like
vaping.
that looks
Yeah.
cool, and like you said, it's all these different kind of flavors.
Mhm.
We have to be more conscious as adults what we're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because as a kid, you don't know what you're making appealing to those young kids,
Right.
saying that it's okay to do this kind of stuff.
The crazy part though about smoking, and 50% of African Americans die more so than our white counterparts. So I'm just saying. But what kills me about smoking is that to me it's very unattractive. It stinks, it tastes nasty, but people still partake.
Yeah, it gets all in your clothes.
Everything. That is just not a good look. So, cigarette smoking.
Oh.
Anything. Ugh. Stinky. Stinky.
Okay, so what are we on number three?
Well, yeah, we are number three, and I bet you want to know what those last three are. But
The
we're
the
gonna
last
take
three,
the
yo.
last three, but we're gonna take a break, and we'll continue our discussion on health matters. And you're listening to KPFA 90, K,
89.3.
KPFB
Mm.
89.3 FM in Berkeley. So, welcome back. This is Health Matters, and we're talking about the 7 deadly diseases that African American will affect the African American community. So, Cat Williams, we've gone through the first four. Now we're down to
Cat
the
Williams. Where's Cat Williams at?
oh snap,
Ooh.
you
Uh
boy.
oh.
You know what?
You
I'm
calling
just
people out their
thinking.
names today,
I know,
Felicia. I'm
cat
like,
business.
I'm looking around the
Cat
building.
business.
I was like, we got Cat
And
Williams
I'm
coming
like,
into the studio
huh.
today. We got a guest appearance.
It would be funny if he did
If he
come.
just walked in, oh, Cat
He
Williams.
would definitely give us a lively discussion. But no, this is Cat Fitness, my co-host,
Man,
and
see,
it's Dr.
we
Felicia
lucky we're
Bridges.
not in a relationship because
I
that
know
might have
that would.
ended that might have ended the relationship
And
right then and
you
there.
know what? As a
Cat
pre,
Williams, who you got coming in my bedroom
I
right
know,
now, girl?
right? As
Calling out
a
the wrong cat.
as a precursor to any relationship I'm in, I said, I have this issue. I get names wrong all the time. So if I call you somebody else, please don't hold it against
And the
me.
guys are cool with that. They allow you to call them other names. You got it like that,
I hope
Felicia.
so. Well, maybe not because I am very single. So, but I do. I have to. I'm like, oh, please, please, please don't call somebody by a different name. And it could be random, and I'll pick it up and I'll call them. And like, what'd you call? I'm like, I didn't
I'd
mean
rather
that.
not attempt to say somebody's name than try to,
Right. Well,
I kind of
this
wiggle around the name thing
this
sometimes.
is my technique to get around that. I call either everyone babe,
Uh huh.
either
That's
babe.
why you've been calling me babe. I was wondering. I was trying to figure that
Babe or dude or sweetie.
out. Okay.
So
One of the three.
one of
That's your
those.
wiggle.
And
Okay.
there you go.
So if you guys see Felicia in public and she's calling me babe or sweetie, that means she's thinking about Cat Williams instead of Cat Fitness, y'all.
I like Cat Williams, but I don't. I'm. Never mind. I don't want to talk about the band's high. Anyway, so we know that cancer is number 7. High blood pressure is number 6. We know that stroke is number number 5, and tobacco is number 4. The next in line is death from lung scarring. Now, that could be caused by a number of things. Lung scar could be because we worked in hazardous areas,
Yeah.
and it's a condition called scardosis, sarcoidosis. Yeah, sarcoidosis, and it is common among black men where they get, or blacks period, where they get scarring in their lungs. And then that could be, in a room too hot, being in an environment where it's just so hot, and you don't have air conditioning.
What's interesting, Reggie White, it says passed away from that as well,
Yes, Reggie
and
White.
he was only 43 years old.
Right.
Like
So
we got to think about the average lifespan of the African American community. You know what I'm saying? It's like between 40 or actually now 30. I had a classmate of mine pass away from a heart attack at the age of 30. You know,
you know,
a heart attack.
something just occurred to me though. Reggie White he had a time where he was addicted to crack.
Reggie was addicted to
I
crack.
think he was. I think he was addicted to crack.
Ah,
So I'm
okay.
just saying that smoking crack, because of the
I think you're thinking
process.
about somebody else. I don't think you're thinking about Reggie
Reggie
White.
White.
Was addicted to crack.
Yeah. Was
I,
it or Singleton? I don't
nah,
know.
nah.
Reggie
I think
Singleton. I don't know.
Reggie White
Well,
was a very spiritual man.
oh well. After the crack smoking, maybe. Well, I
I
might
don't.
be I might be incorrect, and so I don't want to. Don't put me on the record on that. But anyway,
Uh-huh.
let's just talk about crack smoking and how crack smoking in itself can damage your lungs. It's a
Okay.
very dangerous activity outside from ruining your life.
Well, I grew up in the era where crack was whack. You know,
Right.
in the '80s, where I don't know if you guys remember this commercial, but they had the this frying
All
pan.
right. This is your brain on
Yeah,
drugs.
this is your
Was that
brain on drugs.
effective?
That scared the heck out of me as a kid. When they took the egg and cracked the egg and dropped it
Right.
into the little
Yeah.
pan,
Hmm.
that kind of a little light bulb went off in my head. Like I don't
Wow.
want to fry my brain.
Mm.
So I mean, I think it worked for certain people, but then you got to understand, a lot of people. It broke up a lot of
It
families.
sure did. It took the mother. One of the things that it did is devastated the black family. But above all of anything, it took the mother out of the home.
They took a lot of fathers
All
out of the home because they were
Well, that
selling it and
too.
they were going
That
to
that
jail.
too. That too.
You
But
know.
they were selling everything they could. The baby's pampers, the food stamps, their food, their clothes, anything for that drug. So yeah, it devastated us.
And what we're I mean, we have to think that those kids that were growing up in those environments are now, adults, and how it's affected them and the stress that we talk about, the high blood pressure, all these things kind of just roll down and saying that this person, because they grew up in this particular kind of environment, are affected because of these epidemics in our community,
Right.
you know? And man, just to know that something that, a lot of us don't really talk about, just being health conscious in our
Right.
communities,
But
just with
sometimes
these topics.
But sometimes being health conscious is not enough, not enough, because still some black men have hazardous jobs. Some black people have hazardous jobs where they're
Like the refinery or something like
working in a
that.
refinery, working in construction,
Yeah.
you know, de- depending on what materials that they're using in the construction. There's lots of dangerous
Yeah.
environments out there, and that has an effect on health.
Yeah, I mean, like those people that work with certain paints. Well, it was like lead in the paints and stuff like
Hmm.
that, and you're breathing that
Yeah,
in every
breathing it
day,
in.
eight
Yeah.
hours a day,
Uh,
every day.
any
Five
kind of
days a week.
abatement is dangerous.
Yeah,
So I'm not saying don't do your job, but you also have to make sure that your employer is taking all the necessary precautions to keep you safe in an environment that is potentially toxic.
but in most corporate American jobs, that you're just a number. You know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
At
I
the
don't
end of
want
the
to
day,
go there, but
I mean, you're
yeah,
just
you're
another
yeah,
number.
it's
You're
just a
disposable.
number.
They're waiting for you to break down, for you to be replaced with the next young, vibrant personality, and you get replaced, and they come in, they get beat up, and then on to the next, and it's just a revolving door. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Well, and that's a whole nother topic within itself.
that is. Well, see, my thing is so far we've gone through now five, and no, almost, yeah, we've gone through
We got the last
five,
top two.
right? And that there, a lot of these things are environmental. So, it's where we've been redlined to live, where we've been allowed to work, all these institutionalized concerns that have impacted our health in a negative manner. We can't sit by and just be cool living by the railroad tracks, or living by shipyards, or living by old bases, military bases.
We had
They're dangerous
we had a viewer,
areas.
Takesha, said it's all about the profit.
Yeah, it is all about the profit. What's the bottom line? How much money can these corporations make?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
just,
it's a
it's
sad
kind
day,
of
and that's why
sad.
I tell people it's more so going into business for yourself, being a young
Yeah,
entrepreneur out
yeah,
there, because
yeah.
I mean
Taking
you're gonna
control of your own economic future.
you
I'm
got
telling
to,
you,
because if you rely on other people,
they're not gonna do it. And
yeah.
it's intent. It just seems like there's an intention to kill us off. I mean, we have the lowest infant mortality rate
Hmm.
among any other group. Any other group. We have just all these, we're more likely to die from cancer, more likely to have high blood pressure, more likely to have a stroke, more likely to have issues from lung cancer caused by tobacco, smoking tobacco. Because we look, I don't know, I don't want to make this broad sweeping assumptions, but tobacco to me sounds like a way to like escape and not feel certain anxieties and pressure that it just you would have just being black.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay, so we're down to our last two, the top two. What's number two?
Number two is asthma.
Asthma.
Asthma. Oh, heck yeah. We have asthma big time.
Yeah.
Half of us don't even do anything about it. We walking around hacking and coughing and not breathing very well, thinking it could be something else. Oh, I just need to lose weight. No, it could be asthma, and asthma again is environmental. And a lot of kids, because we live in these bad areas, are coming up with asthma.
Well, I got a personal experience with asthma. So
Me too.
I remember I had to be like 3 or 4 years old, and I remember being in my parents' room, and baby powder, right? When babies have the rashes or whatever, we had
Hmm.
some baby powder at the house, and I remember going into my parents' room and playing with the baby powder, and I got it all over myself, got it all over my face.
That's been
I was,
associated with cancer now, but keep going.
but no, from that moment, I remember my dad finding me. I remember I was gasping for air at that
Wow.
point, and then they had to rush me to the hospital. And then when they got me to the hospital, that was when they told my parents that, oh, did you know your son had asthma? And from the age, I believe I was, like I said, it was around 3 or 4 when I had that experience, all the way until I was around like 12. Like when I would have asthma attacks, like I was out of school for like a week or two. They gave me the machine to take home. I can't think of the name of the machine. The
Nebulizer.
nebulizer where you take
Mm-hmm.
home, you got to put the drops in, you got to breathe in.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had that type of asthma. Like
Wow, that's pretty
I
severe.
didn't just take the inhaler. I had to have the nebulizer at home where, if I had an asthma attack, that we had to give me some treatments.
Right.
Now, what's crazy is actually looking back around my seventh grade going into my eighth grade. I was on the chubbier side, right? And I joined the soccer team, and when I went out to soccer practice, like all these kids were well conditioned. It was a traveling soccer team, right? I actually got recruited to being on this team, and when I went out there, I was probably the kid most out of shape, right? And my asthma was affecting me and different things. And the off season, what I started going running by myself. And before I would go on a run, I would take my inhaler, take a couple of puffs of the steroid that I'd have, and then I would run. And then when I would get done, I would take my inhaler. I did that for one summer. And
Mm.
guess what? I haven't had asthma attack since.
Interesting.
Like my lungs, I built up my
Yeah,
lungs
like
so
so that they were open enough to give you enough oxygen, so you didn't need your inhaler.
Yep, I haven't had a
Excellent.
a
Look at
treatment
you.
since.
Heal
And
thyself, physician.
no, but it was one of those things that I just sat down and I was like, I'm tired
Mm-hmm.
of having these breathing issues. And that's kind of what led me from like when I did try smoking and I felt that feeling of shortness of breath, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't do this. It
Right.
doesn't make sense. Like, why would I go back to those symptoms that I had and I no longer, have to deal with these things on a daily issue, you know? So,
Wow.
so those that have asthma, guess what? I would say go out there and keep on doing some conditioning and build those lungs up. And
Yeah.
guess what? You don't always have to have asthma. And a lot of dairy goes into that
Yes. Yes.
building that mucus in the
Yeah.
chest too.
Eliminate that dairy from from your diet. I
Yeah.
mean, get it down to as little as possible. So I'm not saying give up cheese, but give up
No, you're
milk.
saying give up
But I
cheese.
am saying give up cheese, but okay, reduce the amount of cheese that you're because
But
I
cheese
know
is
some
on
people
everything now.
it is in every
Everything.
I
Oh my
can't find a
God.
salad without cheese and I'm like that's so crazy. Why
The
are you putting cheese on it? Because cheese tastes so good. No. That's
cheese
how
is
you get
almost as
people to eat anything. Put cheese on it.
well. Cheese is as addictive. The components that the hormones that cheese releases in the body is the same hormones that when like we were talking earlier when you do crack and stuff like
Mhm.
that. Those same those same
Okay.
energies come out and those same addictive properties are in both.
Wow.
So I mean, that's a whole nother topic. Why they
That
put cheese
is
in the crust of pizza, on pizza, on
right.
man, cheese is on everything.
Yeah. No, cheese
But
is on everything.
what were you saying? You had issues with asthma as well, huh?
Yeah, I did. But I wasn't diagnosed with asthma until I was adult.
Wow. Okay.
And I don't know if it was adult onset asthma or what, but I actually didn't have any diagnosis of asthma as a kid. But I do recall when I wake up in the morning that I was coughing. And that's a sign of asthma. So anyway, yeah, and now all of a sudden I can't breathe. I've had a couple of asthma attacks that have sent me to the hospital. And I have an inhaler, and I have a rescue inhaler that I walk around with, and I also have a steroid that if I don't like to take it. So I have it, but anyway, I have another steroid inhaler that I have to take, but I don't like taking it.
One other thing that kind of pops up. I remember as I was a kid, and my doctor asked my mom at a point in time. He was like, "Is he around anybody that smokes?"
Mm.
And at that time, both my parents used to smoke.
My mom smoked.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember him saying, "Hey, if you want to help your son out, make sure you guys stop smoking." And I remember at a very young age, that's how that my mom and dad stopped smoking.
Just stopped smoking.
Yeah, they
Well,
stopped
my
smoking.
mom stopped smoking, I guess, largely when I was in high school. Well, a little bit in junior high and in high school. And she would kind of closet smoke,
Yeah, go
but
outside or go in the
mm-hmm,
garage or
mm-hmm,
something, and
mm-hmm. She would hide out and
yeah.
smoke. But she stopped. She stopped smoking, and I don't know. Maybe that helped. But I remember every morning I'd be coughing. I couldn't figure out why I was coughing,
Well,
but that was asthma.
well, you got to think about it too. If our parents were smoking, that stuff is getting into the furniture.
Right.
It's all in their clothes, so
Clothes.
we're
Yeah,
we're
it was
breathing that
everything.
stuff in all the
Can't even
time.
remember just open ashtrays just sitting all around the house. That is
Oh yeah,
just so disgusting
yeah.
to me.
And you got to breathe it in.
Absolutely disgusting.
Okay. Should we tell them number one yet, or should we kind of hold off on it?
Maybe we should hold off.
We should hold off. Give them a second
Oh
to think
yeah,
about it.
I know some people out there who could probably guess what number one is.
In our community, if you guys take a quick guess, what do you think number one is? So let's go through the list one more time
Right, so we'll
of the
go
top seven
the
and see if you
the
guys can
top
guess
seven.
number one.
So from seven, it's cancer,
Cancer was number seven.
high blood pressure number six,
Six.
strokes number five,
Number five.
tobacco, the use of tobacco causing lung cancer. That's number four.
Okay, we're on number four.
Lung scarring is number 5, and that's just that has a lot to do with environment. And then that's number lung scarring. That's number 3, and then number 2 is asthma.
So what is number one, y'all? What
Well,
do you think is the number one killer
y'all know
in
as much as we
the
love
African American?
cakes, cookies, that peach cobbler.
But guess what? I got something to say about this once we announce it.
Okay, well,
Diabetes.
diabetes is it.
Diabetes. How many people do we know right now that have
The
diabetes?
sugar, that's right, got the sugar.
The diabetes. But guess what? You know what? You know what studies are showing now?
What are they still showing?
It's not the sugar.
It's the salt.
It's the meat consumption,
Oh,
which
that's interesting.
which increases the cholesterol, which doesn't allow your
Your
body
body
to
to
absorb the sugars,
right.
which develops the cancer now. So we've been told all our life, sugar, 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 sugar. And it's really been, now new studies are showing that it's been the meat
Yeah.
consumption
Yes.
that's been developing that plaque inside our bodies,
Yeah.
which
Doesn't allow us to absorb
the sugar problem.
and process it in our bodies.
Exactly.
And that's causing diabetes. So that means, does that mean I could eat more donuts?
Yeah,
Just
you can eat
saying,
little
as a
bit.
vegan.
Hey, you got vegan gelato over there by the lake. Have you ever tried them before? They got donut
No.
farm. They
No.
got vegan donuts over
Oh
there.
yeah, no, I know there's donuts, vegan donuts by the lake. I go there too often.
Yeah.
Yes, there's
Which
this.
kind do you get?
I like it's the cake one. It's this blueberry cake where they put the glaze on it. It's so good to me.
Felicia, you got a sweet tooth, don't you?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. If I could just walk away from sweets, but that's my struggle.
That's your struggle, and that's your pleasure.
That's my pleasure.
But no, so let me tell you a little bit about my experience with diabetes. So I haven't had diabetes, but a lot of people in my family have had diabetes. One of my oldest sons was the doctor saying he was going on a borderline diabetic, and he was only 10 years old.
Wow.
Now, mind you, when I was a kid, probably from the age around like 5 or 6, my dad would always tell me, he was like, hey, you want to be careful. Diabetes runs in the family. Diabetes, high blood pressure, all these things run in the family, right? And I really, at a young age thought once I got to a certain age that I was going to be dealing with these things. I remember the first time my father had a diabetic episode. We were outside doing some yard work, and during this time, my dad started sweating like profusely. Like he was just soaked in sweat to the point where it was like kind of awkward. Like my mom was like, "Are you okay? Like you're
Wow.
not sweating." He's like, "Man, I'm not feeling so good." And he goes to the VA hospital, and he drove himself over there, and once the doctors did all the checks, they were like, "You're diabetic. Like,
Oh
you're
man.
having a diabetic episode. His sugar levels dropped."
Dropped. Uh-huh.
And they were like, "Man, you were this close to going into a diabetic coma and not even knowing it."
Holy smoke.
So yeah. And as I got older, it's one of those things like, okay, it runs in our blood. But now that I've been doing more research and, just better understanding what I'm putting into my body more so as fuel than just comfort food, I'm understanding that, eating that meat that we used to eat, the bacon, like I said, for breakfast, the sausage, the
yeah.
fried pork chops, the fried chicken, all these things are
Yeah,
building the
those used to
plaque.
be it.
Exactly, building the plaque in our bodies so we have the diabetes. But we're not like I said, not putting two and two together. Like how many people I would say in my family, diabetes, maybe 1 out of 4.
Wow, that's pretty
Yeah,
high.
like 1 out of 4 people have like diabetes. Either,
Yeah.
especially type 2 diabetes.
Yeah, the sad thing about all of that is that diabetes leads to poor circulation, and poor circulation leads to limbs being amputated.
Yeah.
So, You know, you could lose your legs, feet,
I,
and your legs.
I know my dad, from his calf down, his leg is like turning black.
Oh no, he
Just
can't
re-
let that. He
yeah,
can't let that.
it's been like that for a while now, but that's the poor circulation. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's like from his
Oh.
calf down, you can see the
Mm-mm.
discoloration
Mm.
where the
Mm-hmm.
diabetes has been eating him from the inside out. You know?
He might lose that
Well, he
limb.
has other things going on. They said they might would have to amputate his legs,
Mm-hmm.
but he has other things going on where he can't even get it amputated if they had
Me
to.
too, because it's
Yeah.
just not strong. His heart's not strong enough.
Well, his his he won't clot. I forget what it's called
Oh,
off the
okay.
top of my head, but
He's hemophilian.
I believe so, where it won't clot up.
Mm-hmm.
So it would just continuously
Just
bleed,
bleed.
bleed, bleed.
Oh,
So
so he's a bleeder, so they can't even do it because it would be too
exactly,
dangerous. Oh
exactly.
my god! But he could
So
die from sepsis, blood poisoning.
yeah. So I mean, now he's
Mm.
at that stage where it's like, uh oh, there's a
Okay.
wild spider in the studio today. Yeah, see, now we got it on camera. Earlier this happened,
The
and
thing
Felicia,
was crawling on me.
she saw a spider in the studio. You should have seen her, guys. She jumped across this. She jumped across this whole
The thing was
studio
on
and
me.
didn't even say nothing to me. She just jumped. She didn't say, "Watch out! Look out! It's a spider." She just bounced. I'm like, "Where's Felicia going?" And then yelled at the end of it. So we got this one on camera. So you, so you guys, if I tell this story, we can go back to this footage. You guys get to check it out. Pretty hilarious moment. If you guys, since our people on Sundays don't get the live feed, you have to go back and watch it.
Right.
Felisa just jumped across the whole studio while a spider crawled on her leg.
Well, anyway, we're talking about diabetes, not about this spider. But one thing that I didn't know that diabetes causes kidney disease. I had no
Mm,
clue about that.
yeah.
Wow.
But you got to think about all the side effects that the medications now have. It's like when
Mhm.
you have diabetes, you're taking the insulin, you're
Mhm.
taking all these other
Mhm.
things, but then they come with so many other side effects,
Right. Very
you know?
true. Very true.
And it's like, is it better just to have the disease, or do you take the medicine that's giving you five, six, seven other side effects, you
Mhm.
know?
Right.
So I look at it like, man, I'd rather just be precautionary, eat the best that I can, work
Right.
out, and make sure that I don't have to worry about these things that plague our community.
Right.
And
Right. So I was just gonna ask you, as I cut you off,
go ahead and cut me
but
off.
so we know we have all these things. There are things that we could do, we could actively do to sort of prevent some of these
Yeah,
things.
most definitely.
If you're living in a bad area, move out of that area. Try to move in areas where you're with your in a environment that's away from chemicals and pollutions and water contamination.
And understand that the things that you are in control of, like the food that you put in your body, the alcohol that you
Mm-hmm.
put in your body,
Absolutely.
the
All those things.
tobacco, all this stuff that you guys have control over and you guys
Mm-hmm.
can easily stop. I mean, some of us might be addicted. It might be a process. It's not going to happen overnight, but start taking the strides towards, being a better you, eating less meat, smoking, drinking less, all
Right.
these little things, because it's gonna pay off in the long run, y'all. And it's a lot of things that we're dying from by the hundreds of thousands every year, more so than the police brutality and all these other things
Right.
that they
Yes.
blast us with
Thank you.
all the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
I mean, yeah, they brutalize us, but not as much as we've been brutalizing
ourselves,
ourselves.
yeah. And we got to take control of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Wow. That wraps it up for Health Matters. We made it to
is that another episode
that
in the
is
books?
another episode in the can. Thank you very
I
much.
think we're around our year anniversary for this particular segment.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
1 year
yeah.
for
One
Health Matters
year.
Radio. Man, this is a beautiful time,
It
y'all.
is, it is.
We continue to have more guests every single week. Make sure you're watching or listening to our our broadcast
So,
on Sundays at 2 p.m. 89.3 KPFB. We also have a Facebook page, Health Matters Radio. Make sure you guys are not only going on it, but liking the page and
right,
sharing
like
it with
it.
your
Right.
friends.
Absolutely.
And we have our Instagram page,
Yeah.
Health Matters Radio.
I'm gonna update it. He's doing that on purpose, trying to calm me out, and I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna get better. For one, I think you guys. I think I had talked about this last year that I'm on a health journey, but I have. I made an improvement. I was working. I'm kind of fell off my game, but at work I take the stairs, and I also have been a vegan for a year. But now I'm going to
Congratulations.
really just start working out and sharing some of my cooking as well.
Guys, where can they find you, Felicia, if they're
They
looking
can
for you on social
you can
media?
find me on Facebook. It's Felicia Bridges 1 on Facebook. Also uh Health Matters Radio on Instagram, and also where else?
Where else are you?
That's it.
That's it? Can
Yeah,
they
you
email
you
you?
can email me at FeliciaB@kpfa.org.
And you guys can find your man Cat Fitness on Instagram. It's Cat Fitness 3. Make sure you guys are following, liking my Instagram page. You can also find me on Facebook, Cat Fitness. All the local boot camps. We're talking about, being a black vegan in the community, health issues, all those things that normally are not getting talked about. We're bringing it to the forefront, y'all.
To the forefront.
And each and every week, normally we have a new guest. We do mind, body, and spirit on this particular channel. So make sure that you're supporting us, that you're telling friends and family to check us out. And with that, we're going to continue to build and grow and bring more awareness to our community.
And help let everybody be healthier. So we're healthy, we're stronger. Ta-ta for now. Don't forget, if you want to hear this episode again, go to Mixcloud, www.mixcloud.com/health matters. Ta-ta for now.
Peace out. See y'all next time.
Right at an hour. Woo. That was pretty good. We did it. We did that.
Hold
You
on.
got the gift of gab.
We are still
Are we
live.
still live?
Hold on. Orientation, lock, rotation, back.